Hey everybody, today's video is about making masks, donating them versus selling them. There seems to be two very different opinions on this issue. There are some people who are very adamant that these masks should never be sold and no one should ever make any sort of profit on them. And then there are other people who feel that there is nothing wrong with selling a mask because it's a tangible item that someone is making and incurring a cost in order to make that item. So I wanted to go over both of these opinions and kind of weigh in on it. So the first one is, should you only donate masks? Should you only sell masks? Or should it be some combination of both? Now, there is the argument that if you are making them for, say, healthcare workers and other essential employees, that, those would be best donated, and to regular folks who are just going about their lives and going to the store and things like that, that they can purchase their masks. So there's definitely a merit in that argument. The people who absolutely have to be in the situation, it's a good show of support to them by donating an item to them that is useful and possibly protects them and keeps them healthy and safe. So that's definitely a valid point. Then there is a good counterpoint there in that healthcare and other frontline workers need a number of different things to keep them safe. They need scrubs, or they need the appropriate type of shoes. They need gas or public transportation fare to get to their job. So where do we draw the line? So I can definitely see both sides of this argument. Now, the concept of not wanting to profit off of a tragedy. Now, it's quite nuanced in my opinion, because let's say that there was another mass shooting and there were people selling T-shirts about it, referencing that mass shooting, or just the topic of guns in general. And they were using the newsworthiness of that shooting to market and promote T-shirts that are about it. That I think most people would agree that that's kind of an opportunist thing, and it's insensitive, to say the least, probably unethical. But I would argue that masks are a little different, because you're making something that's needed, that, at least according to the CDC, is something that has some sort of efficacy in terms of limiting the transmission of disease. Although, of course, that's has not been proven, and I'm not giving any sort of opinion on it because I'm not qualified to. So would it really be in the same category? I mean, are we profiting off of the pandemic? I mean, maybe indirectly, but ours also aren't the manufacturers of cotton swabs and other PPE, other medical things, like equipment, just anyone who's connected, even the people who stock the cafeterias in hospitals, aren't they profiting off of it too, because they're feeding more people, because there's more staff on hand, working longer shifts? So, in my opinion, I really don't see selling a mask as profiting off of a pandemic. What I do see it as filling a need that is there, that the mass market is currently not filling, because as individual people in our homes who have the skills to make these masks, we are fulfilling a need and doing so much more quickly than any sort of major manufacturer. So if if you haven't noticed, and I personally haven't been inside of a Walmart recently because I'm staying home as much as humanly possible, and my husband, who is just the more suitable person to go out and buy food for our family, they're not selling those. They're not selling these at Walmart. You can't get them anywhere. So, should the people who have the skills and supplies and time necessary to make these masks, should they make them for everybody and for free? I would argue not. And you know what, I think that a lot of this stems from the fact that this is a sewn item, and traditionally sewing has been a task that usually women do. And in previous generations, it's been part of homemaking skills, something that a woman did for her family, and usually it was, I mean, I don't know about usually, but I mean, a lot of the time it was something that was obligatory, it was a necessity. It wasn't necessarily like it is now, where if you're making, you know, a set of pajamas for your kids, you're doing it out of love and because you want to, because it definitely is way cheaper to go buy pajamas at a mass retailer. Which brings me to my next point, is that not only do a lot of people undervalue the labor of people who sew, partially for gender reasons, but also because in the last 20 to 30 years, the proliferation of sweatshop labor from overseas, where wages are lower, and us profiting from that over in the US and other countries, has been just insane. The fact that you can go to Walmart and buy a t-shirt for $5 or even less, that should tell you something. If I made a t-shirt, it would take me at least 2 hours, and I've been sewing for over 20 years and definitely know how to make a t-shirt. So does that mean that my 2 hours of labor is worth $1 or so? Because keep in mind that the fabric and the thread and the wear and tear on the sewing machine, assuming you already own one, is not taken into consideration. So when you add all that together, the actual labor that you're getting is minuscule. And that's why hardly any clothes are made in the US anymore, and they're all made overseas, because once we got a taste of that fast fashion and low price clothing, we weren't willing to go back. So, and now that these fabric masks are not yet being made overseas en masse, and they will be, give it a few weeks, suddenly people are balking at paying $10, $20, $30 for a mask. So I would ask the people who are complaining about that, what do you know about sewing? You know, for example, my husband, he's very supportive and understands and has seen for himself how much work, time, skill, etc. go into sewing. And even he was surprised when he helped me make some masks a couple weeks ago. You know, he got on the sewing machine and helped do sewing, and I taught one of our daughters how to sew, and he was surprised. He was saying that parts of him hurt that don't normally hurt because he was using his fingers and in such a way that he normally doesn't. He doesn't do a lot of fine motor work. So, and just the tiredness of it and the amount of time that it took surprised even him. So I think that a lot of people just think that you can just whip one of these things right up. And I would encourage them to watch the proliferation of YouTube videos showing people sewing these masks. And a lot of them are in real time, where they have not been edited for length, and see, you know, is that really as easy as you think it is? And then when we talk about fabrics, there is a huge difference in quilting cotton fabric. Sure, you've maybe walked down the fabric aisle in your local Walmart and seen fabric for $5 a yard, but have you felt that fabric? Does it feel as good as your 500 thread count sheets? It does not. The stuff that is best to use is a quality quilting cotton that is typically sold in a quilt shop or online, and it goes about, For a solid, maybe around $7 a yard, and for a print, 11 and up. Then we're talking about elastic. Now, I normally make felt embroidered masks, like animal masks, so I have a lot of this elastic on hand. Most people did not. So the people making these masks had to buy this elastic, pay for the shipping, which is high because this is heavy when you're buying a large quantity of it, and a lot of it has sold out. Well, then you get the issue of the supply and demand, and the supply is being depleted. We're waiting for people in China to make this stuff and ship it overseas at a higher cost than what it was maybe 8 weeks ago. So we're paying more for that elastic now. So the whole point that I'm trying to make here is that if someone is complaining about the cost of a mask, or even implying that someone, not them, should be providing it for free, they really need to look at both the supply chain and the skill and time required to make these. So, and then also, the concept of donating is wonderful. I personally have donated masks, not as many as I've sold, but I don't come from a place of, frankly, I know some of us are tired of hearing this word, but of privilege, where I have a huge stash of fabric. I don't. That maybe I don't have other work obligations. I do. I have a full-time job plus my Etsy business. And I'm not in a financial position to spend a lot of time and money to donate these things. So there are a lot of people who do, and that's great. I would definitely encourage people, if they're in a position and desire to donate these, to do so, but not out of obligation. Because really, I'm sure the healthcare workers appreciate any mask they receive, but would they really appreciate one as much that was made out of a sense of obligation rather than love and concern? I would say not. So, thanks for listening to my argument. I would love to hear your take on it in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And to see more videos from me on a variety of sewing and embroidery topics, hit subscribe. Thank you for watching.